How's the sound? Okay, today we're going to talk about more TFT displays, and someone asked how to hook it up on an SKR Mini, which I don't think I've done yet. So there's going to be a couple of steps. So how's everybody doing out there today? Let me check on the chat real quick here, see how things are going. Make sure the sound is coming up okay. So essentially, someone wanted to know how to use a TFT28 or 24, I can't remember which, but I'll show you the process for installing it on this. Hopefully I can guess it right the first time. It's not that difficult in theory, but we'll have to test things out here because I haven't worked with this in a long time. So first thing I'm going to do is actually prep the firmware real quick here because I didn't do it right away. So let me get this set up here for you. If you have any other questions, I'm going to probably do a couple of things today. So let's see what we got here. I need to quickly set up a folder for this. So let me just delete this and then we'll go over and we'll check the data sheet on this particular board. Okay, there we go. So for this board, it's a little bit out of date, meaning that it was one of their very first ones. Let me see if I can focus this a little bit better. But we can't see the mini very well, so I'm going to bring you over to the web browser. So inside here, what we need to do is search on repositories for the Big Tree Tech GitHub up here. So we're going to search on SKR Mini and see if we can find it. So there's several different ones. My guess is it's this one. So let's see how the board's laid out real quick. So let's see if there's a top view here. So the power, USB, the SD card, that looks like the board with the TFT. So let's see if there's directions on it. So instructions. So here's the board. I guess their picture is just as blurry as mine. But there's going to be a couple of settings probably. I'm just going to scan through this real quick. So TFT port, we need to know what the pinout looks like, and I don't think they're showing it here. And there's also a USB selector jumper right here. So one of those is going to be USB, the other one's going to be direct power. So we can check that as well. Let's see if I can find a better diagram in hardware. So I'm going to look for the pinout diagram. Inside here, they say the reset's over here, so now we know how to connect that. So we don't need power for this, but we do need to set it to USB, like it's saying right here. So let's go back over to the workbench for a second, and I'll check on the chat while this is going on. It's kind of quiet in chat, but that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to first look at the back of this. And there's two different ways to connect to it. There's the EXP1 and 2 with EXP1 and 2. I might have the order backwards. Then we have, let's see, reset TX, RX ground 5 volts. And then we have another one over here that looks similar, but I'm guessing it's this one right here being the RS232. So we'll plug it in and see what happens. And then per the diagram over here, the reset pin is located on the left-hand side. So we're going to plug in the right-hand side first. Then we'll plug in the reset pin. And then we'll flip this over so we can see what's going on. Hopefully I won't move around too much. And then I'm going to take USB power and I'm going to plug it in and see what happens. So nothing happened. That's probably due to the jumper not being set for USB power. So I'll move that over. Now I'll plug this in and it powers up. So now that we know how to do that, the other issue is that this one is in a foreign language. I think the last time I did this, I may have changed the language on it. I'm not sure if that's Russian or Greek. It might be Greek, but somebody out there will correct me. So we're gonna have to fix that. So in order to fix that, we have to load firmware on it, and the firmware process has changed since the last time I did this a while ago for a tutorial. So I'm going to get an adapter card real quick as soon as I can figure out where I put it. Apparently it is down here someplace. Interesting. Oh, there it is. So we're going to take this card, we're going to put it in here for now so we can actually set up the firmware and put it in the computer. And I'll go over to the computer and we'll see what we can find for firmware. So we're going to go to the browser first. So we're going to transition over the browser. Over here, we'll go back to the Big Tree Tech main page. We'll find the actual touch screens. We'll download the code with a zip. And all of this will be contained in there. As soon as that's done downloading, we'll go over to our desktop. Let me make sure that that looks the way it should. There we go. So over on the desktop, let me just move it over here. Now that it's completed for the download, we're going to go over to our downloads folder. And inside here, we just downloaded it today. So we're going to right click and we're going to do extract all. And then extract it. Now I'll check on the comments while that's going on. Hey, how's it going? Looks like you made it. So essentially right now I'm going over how it's connected and where to get the firmware. First I'm going to do the connection for the TFT cable. Then I'll do the connection for the ribbon cables after that. So as soon as this finishes, we'll take a look at that and see how it goes. So it's about, obviously, 25% away. And we have another drive over here where I have everything loaded. I'm actually going to just wipe this out for a moment. Hopefully I'll remember how to do it. And as soon as that's cleaned up, I'll show you this unzipped file. Well, I'll show you right now. So inside here, this is the touch screen that just unzipped. And inside here it says copy to SD card, root directory to update. So what we're going to have to do is right click. We're going to go to send to, and it's on the E drive. So we'll send it over there as soon as it's clean. So let me double check this. So the E drive is all good. So I'm going to close that out for a second. I'll right click, send it to the E drive. This may take a moment. And there's going to be a couple of files on here that we're going to have to take out. Now the rest of the other files has to do with what's up there. There might be a bootloader. Never used it, probably never will. There's files to actually build this in VS Code, I believe. So you can see there's a platform io.ini. And then there's probably configuration instructions. I'm going to skip those because I think I know what I'm doing, but obviously you've seen me not know what I'm doing at times. And for those that are wondering, I'm finally building a website so you can find all my videos and not have to search around YouTube and find the playlist. That should be done maybe by the end of the week. Right now I'm trying to document where everything is. And it will probably have more information than you ever wanted to know. also designs and how to make designs in certain softwares. So let's go over to the E drive. Inside the E drive, what we need to do is copy something to the root. So in this case, it's a TFT28, I believe, but we can go over to the screen and double check this. So if I transition over to the desktop for a second, you'll see, well, mine's a TFT24, so this might not work as well as planned, but I can always go back in time on Git and find that version, hopefully. But as you can see, it doesn't exist for me right here. Oh, actually it does. So I'm going to copy this and put it right here. Now if you had a TFT28, then you'd copy that and put it there. Then you have to go back here, and there's a bunch of different themes. So I'll do the unified menu theme, and it's a TFT24, so I need to copy this folder. So I'll bring this back to the E drive, paste it right here. Then I'll go back in here, and I need the config file, so I'm going to copy that as well. And then I'm going to go back over to here and paste it. So one of the tells that you can tell for your particular configuration is when it says TFT24 version 1.1. That's the version that I'm working with. So I think we have everything we need. We might need a language pack. So in this case, I want to move it back to English, hopefully. So I'm just going to copy the folder for now. I might screw up and it might be a different one. This may need to be on the actual drive, but we can fix that. So I'm going to copy this to the E root, hopefully. And I did. So now's the interesting step. You need to open up configuration. Whoop. I know you guys can't see. Sorry about that. Let me transfer back over here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So just so you know, I copied these 3 files out. I'll close this for a second and delete them. Then I'll go back over here and show you what I was doing. So I found my actual TFT display, so I'm going to send that to the root of the drive. And you can check that by just clicking over. Then I'm going to send over, I guess, this theme. So I'll send that to the drive as well. Then I'm going to move the language pack over. And I'm going to move the config file over. So we can double check this. So they're all here. So now we need to go into the config file. And inside the config file, there's going to be a bunch of things to configure, depending upon what you're doing with your configuration. So in this case, the simple things that we're going to look at, right here it says your status screen displays current temperature and fan speed. If disabled, the menu will become default home screen. So for now, I'm just going to leave it alone. Baud rate, normally it defaults to this speed, but we're going to be loading it at this speed. So I'm going to change that to a 5, which it looks like it's 6. I'm sorry. This is for 5. This is for 6. So I'm going to change the default. That way we don't have to worry about a speed issue. Next, let's see, for the language, I know that's in here someplace. So it's going to be default English. And then the colors, I've never actually changed the color, so let's see if we can change this. I'm going to try lime. Excuse me. And then background color, let's do purple. And then a bunch of these other things I'm going to skip over for now. You can rotate your UI. I've never actually done this, so let's give it a try. So I'm going to say that it's going to be rotated 180 degrees. This might be upside down. I don't know. That's what it sounds like. We can show the temperature menu, but right now we don't have a thermistor connected. The actual axi, we're not going to play with those at the moment. I'm just showing you the basic setup for the screen. Not sure what that is, but we can also send G codes down here. I'm going to skip over a lot of functionality because you can read through it yourself. But you can send G codes. Just remember, like the other day, I forgot to remove the comments, so it didn't work. And then there's probably some other stuff in here, but I'm going to skip over that for now. So I'm going to save this file. Now I am editing it in Notepad, so we might have issues. Normally you should edit it in Notepad++, which is free to download. So now that that's all set, we're going to see if we can drop this on the actual hardware and see what happens. So I'm going to go over to the workbench. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to take the drive. I'm going to flip it over for the moment and plug it in. And it probably says in a foreign language media is installed. So I'm going to unplug this. And it should automatically load because none of the files say cur. So that's what it's actually doing. Or at least that's what I hope it's doing. So let me check on the chat. Okay. So once it gets to this point, it's going to ask you to press the actual red dots. So you have to be careful with this. So what I like to do is I use basically my my hex wrench because my finger doesn't always work. Then it says the next one. And it says, well, this one and this one, but I screwed it up, so I got to do it again. There we go. Hopefully that works. Now it is upside down because I inverted it, so I'm going to flip it over this way so you can actually read what's going on, hopefully. And let's see what we got here. It says font OK, config OK. Language update required, optional icons updated required, insert the SD card required files, and press reset button. So what we got to do is pull this out because I screwed up, and we need to place it in here and then see if I can fix those files. So we'll go back over to the computer, and of course you didn't see anything I did anyways, so that's okay. Sorry I can't hear you guys on your side screaming at me, but I'll show you what happened. That's what happened because I forgot something. And it's a good thing you didn't see it, but now you have. So let me go back over to the desktop and fix it. So on the desktop, I'm going to find the folder real quick here. And inside here you can see that it's cur. These mean that it already loaded. So we're good there. But we don't have the language pack. So we have to go in here and find it. And I believe we can use this one. So we'll go up a directory, paste it here. And then also I probably screwed up over here where I didn't copy these out. So I'll copy these. And I'll paste it over here. So you have to actually put the folder here. I always forget that. And then to fix it, to reload, you can rename this to the binary file.bin, and that'll make it reload. And you can do the same for this. And hopefully now I haven't screwed it up too much. So I'm going to remove the drive and go back over to the workbench. And this time, maybe you can see me do it right. So I'll remove this. The screen's still going to be inverted. Now I'm going to remove the power and power it back up, and hopefully this will work. But it might invert the invert, which is kind of interesting. So I'll just invert it for now. And of course it went back the other way. So we'll give that a second to load. And I'll check on the chat while that's going on. Okay. So it's at 60, 70, 75%. It may not ask me to touch the screen because the version is still the same. So we'll find that out in a second. So it's basically updating the icons. Now it's still probably going to have a connection issue, which I'll solve in just a second, because we probably need to reload the firmware. But that takes me a couple of guesses to get right. And I haven't loaded firmware on this in probably over a year, so it might take me a little bit more time. Okay, it's looking good. So everything's in English. You can see the menu says no printer attached, so we got to fix that. It also says it down here, and then we can check the menu speed to make sure that we got it right. So let's see, settings, and then we can go to connection, baud rate, and the baud rate's correct, so we're good there. So let's go back to the main menu, and now we need to load firmware on here because it's not set up right to fix this problem. So I'm going to disconnect this. I'm going to reconnect it just to check on the computer to see if it shows up, and I'm going to pull this out just in case it tries to load, but it is marked cur, so it doesn't matter. So on this board, I can't remember how to load firmware because it's been so long. So I'm going to go over to the desktop for a second. I'm going to bring up a drive. Inside here, I don't see a drive, so we're going to have to do it manually. So I'll go back over to the workbench. I'm going to take out the power, pop up this drive right here, place it back in here, and place this in the computer. So back on the computer, we can check to see what's going on. So now we have a drive because it's in the drive or whatever you want to call it. Looks like the last time I loaded this was, what is it, July of last year. So we're going to have to fix it. So we're going to have to go over to Visual Studio Code. We're going to click on here for the Explorer, go to Open Folder. Then we're going to go to our Downloads folder, Marlin 2.0, Marlin 2.0, Select Folder. Inside here we have to find the board. So like always, we go to Marlin Source, Core Boards.h, and then search on SKR, I think _ mini. And the version that we have is the 1.1. So it's this one, so we'll copy that. Then we'll close out of here, minimize the source folder, go to config.h, search on motherboard. We'll paste it over where the ramps was. We'll change the serial port to -1. And then I'm going to guess on this because I don't know what it is. I'm going to change this to 0. We need the second serial in order to connect to our TFT display. Now to build it, we have to go back over to platformio.ini and we need to search on SKR _ mini and see if we can find it. So I can't find it like normal, but I believe it's this because it's highlighted right here. But we can double check that. So if I'm just going to copy this for 2 seconds. I'm going to go over to Source, Core, Boards. I'm going to see what category it's under. It's STM32, so it's highly likely that that's what we're going to use. So we can find out by just doing a compile. As you can see, it's STM32 down here for this. So we're going to go back to the top, and we're going to paste it over where the mega chipset is. And then we're going to do a clean because obviously I build tons of things, so it's kind of hard to see if it's going to work right away unless I clean the folder out. And now I'm going to do just a build and see what happens. It may fail. And it did, so let's try it again. And it may fail again. Yep. So we need to figure out what's going on. So we go to the first error, and it says something about the serial port must be -1 or 1 through 5. So go over to configuration.h, change this to 1, and then hit the checkbox and hope it compiles. And I'll check on the chat while that's going on. Yeah, you can modify it too. Let's see, I did all the steps, but the touchscreen mode is no printer attached, only in Marlin mode works. That depends on your second serial. So this might take a couple of tries to get it to work, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So now that it's completed for the compile, I'm going to go over to .pio. I'm going to right click. Well, actually I'm not going to right click just yet. I'm going to go into the folder, go into build, into the chipset. Then I'm going to find it, right click, and reveal file in Explorer. Then I'm going to click on that file, and I'm going to send it to our D drive. And as you can see, this is the new file which will get converted to this after it loads. So I'm going to pop this out and go back and see if this actually works. It may not, so just be prepared for that. So I'm going to pop this out, slide this in here, power it up, and see what happens. So apparently it didn't work. That's okay. So let's pop this out, pop the drive out. This is the iterative method. There probably is a written way to do this. So we'll check that real quick on their website. But I know it's one of several different numbers. Probably 1 through 5. So let me go back over to the web browser so you can see what I'm looking at. So inside here, we're going to go back to here, if it lets me. Search the repositories for Mini. It's the bottom one, or this one. And let's see if there's any information. So, issues. Usually there's something on the TFT display. Apparently not. Let's go back. Inside here, someone might have done a wiring diagram that might be helpful. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. And that's not helpful. So maybe someone didn't outline this already. Okay, well, we're gonna guess. So let me just look at this real quick. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, let's go back to VS Code and figure it out. So in VS Code configuration.h, we're going to go to 2, and then we'll rebuild again. This is going to be somewhat iterative, so it's not going to be fun. The stream will be in the live stream folder eventually. I have a particular playlist that says live stream, so just keep track of the date. And let me see what screen you're on. Okay. So we have to do this again. So we're going to find the file, right click, reveal in Explorer, right click, send to the USB drive, replace it. It's also looking like the file's not loading, which is a different issue. So that might be a problem in the first place. So I'm going to go to the D drive, and I'm actually going to delete this because there might be something going on that I don't know about. That way, if it works, it will change to this. And I'm also going to delete this because I have no clue what it is. I'm sure it has value. It might even be the firmware, which it looks like file size it might be. And then we'll go back over to the workbench and see if this works. It also might mean that my drive is not formatted correctly. So I don't see any flashing lights, so I don't know if it even loaded, which is kind of unsettling. So I'm going to see if there's a reset button here that I need to press, which I don't see. It might need direct power to load, which is another experiment we can do. So I'm going to pop that out. I'm actually going to check the drive, see if the actual firmware is loading, because this might be the issue. If not, we can try a different drive and see if it works. It might be the reason I haven't used this board in a while. So if we go over and we check that drive, if it shows up, that's amazing. The drive's not working now. Let me unplug it again. Oh, there it is. Okay, so note the date and time. They might be updating differently. This file size is still the same. So it looks like a file update did occur, because we no longer have that, but they just renamed it differently. That's interesting. So as we know, if we go over to the desktop, we can check. So let me bring you back over there so you can see what I'm talking about. We can power this up and make sure that it doesn't say connected. So we're going to do it again, and we're going to pick a different number. So let me bring you back over there. So we're going to do 3 this time. We may have to redo 1. And I'll check on the chat while that's going on. Yeah, eventually what I'll be doing is actually creating a way for you guys to see everything on a website, because I know how much fun it is to search on YouTube for things. So I'm going to go back over here, reveal in File Explorer, right click, send to the USB drive. I'm actually going to delete the other file because I don't trust it. And I'm going to load it again. So let me pull that out. Bring you back over to the desk. De-energize the board. Plug this in. And see what happens. So it says no printer attached again. I'll power cycle it just to make sure. Okay, that didn't work. Okay. Let's go up another number. So we can only go as high as 5, and then we got to go backwards again. We also can cheat another way that I just thought of, and I'm going to show you that. So in the web browser, you can go over here, and you can go back here. They have firmware, and then they have a bunch of different versions. So let's see what they have here. We have bug fix. It's compiled, so we can't look in it easily. That's compiled as well, so that's kind of useless. Here we go. So we can go into here, and we can go to config.h, and then we can basically scroll down and see which port they're using. And it says they're using number 1. So let's give that a try. I know the speed does read differently than what I said it does. That's okay. But let's try that in VS Code real quick. So when I thought it wasn't loading, it was probably because it wasn't loading. So what we'll do is we'll change this to 1, see if their directions actually work. Okay, it's compiled, so let's reveal in File Explorer. Send it to the board, or to the drive, pardon me. I'm going to delete this file because I don't think it does anything. And then we'll give this a try again. So let's go back over to the desktop. Stick this in here. And disconnect, reconnect. And now it's fixed. So it was 1 all along, and apparently I just didn't know. So that's the first way to hook it up. Now if you want to use the other method of using it, you have to hold this down, and then it gives you the option to switch to Marlin mode. And right now obviously Marlin mode won't work because I don't have it hooked up. So first thing you need to do, this might take me a couple guesses because it's been a long time since I've done it. EXP1, and then I'm guessing this is EXP1. I don't think it's going to matter for this, but I'll have to look at the wiring diagram to make sure real quick. So if we go over to the browser, inside the browser we need to go back over to here, hardware, pinouts, and then it's EXP1, EXP2. So we guessed right. So we'll go back over to the desktop. Plug into EXP2 hopefully. and then plug into EXP2 over here. And then I'm not sure which model it's going to be for rep wrap mode, but we can obviously cheat, but I'll take a guess that it's going to be, let's power it up and see what it says. So it says Marlin mode, which is real to script. I believe it's rep wrap discount full graphics smart controller, but let's see what happens. This might be more than one try as well. So in VS Code, we're going to search on rep wrap underscore discount, and we'll try this one first. There's two of them, and we'll build it and see what happens. And I'll check on the chat in just a second. Yeah, I can talk about the menu options in just a second. Z height, that might be a little bit hard for me to explain because I haven't done it yet, but it looks like the compile didn't work, so give me a second to see what's going on here. Well, let's try a second compile and see what happens. Sometimes it has to download software, so it might trip up, but we'll see what happens. Now, the yellow messages are usually warnings, so you don't have to worry about those. So let's go back to the build. Right click, reveal in File Explorer, and I have to grab the drive. Basically just throwing the drive in the SD card reader. Give it a second to load, right click, send to USB drive. So, I don't know if I'm going to leave this file and see if we replace it because we know there's a 4-minute difference. So let's see what happens. You can see it's significantly bigger. I want to see if it works. So I'll bring you over to the desktop so you can see what I'm about to do. Move this over. Plug the drive in. And let's see if this works. It might not. Okay, so it's not working there. So let's see if we can find some information about it while I pop this back on the computer, because obviously you can tell how familiar I am with this particular board. And we'll go over to the browser and see if we can cheat again. So let's see, firmware. I think it's going to be that. Nope. It's going to be that one. Nope. There we go. So let's search on rep underscore discount. So it's not that one, it's that one. So we were able to confirm it. So now we can go over to VS Code. Inside VS Code, we can comment this out. I'm actually on that line. Do a search, take off the smart. And is that the second one or the first? It looks like the second. remove the comment and recompile. And recompile. Something about this compiler doesn't like to start fresh. Not sure why yet, but that's an IDE issue possibly. But either way, you've seen the workaround like twice now, so. Okay, let's pop that out after we move it. Okay. Looks like it didn't update the last time. Now we know. So you have to delete that file. But we also had the wrong one. So now we know that too. Let's take this back over here and hopefully this won't be a nightmare. Okay, it looks like it's a slight nightmare. Whoop, there it goes. So apparently I spoke too soon. So there's menus, just like on the other one, where you can navigate for motion. You can move your axis. There's extruders. Obviously we don't have one. We can move things, but let's go up. Now, if you're doing bed leveling, you have to do an additional thing, and you have to enable that. That's someplace in config.h, I believe. I have to still document the tutorial I'm working on, so I don't want to really comment on it until I actually know what I'm doing. So that's that. Now I'll show you the other menus. So this one has more interesting menus, I think. So if you go to menu, you have your movement, you have your heat, you have your load and unload, which I have no clue what that is, but that looks like it's for filament based on the little pictures they have there. Then you have your nozzle, heat, cool down, so power on, power off. You can obviously change these if you want to your liking. I did a live stream on how to change that a while ago. You have custom commands that are in there. That's the file I was showing you. These don't show back to the screen any information, but they just execute the command. Over here though, you can actually send commands like M1. Whoop. Lovely. M119, and it will give you the readout. And because we don't have end steps connected, it says that they're all triggered. If we were to add one, it probably would say triggered, but I don't want to add one on the fly without checking. So let's see, we've got terminal, we've got custom. Let's see if there's anything else. We have settings, obviously. So there's screen settings, which I don't know what that does. It's probably to adjust, rotate. Let's see if that works. We gotta do the automatic thing again. And now it's flipping it the other way. So, TSC, I'm guessing that's sensitivity, but I don't know. Oh, it's the same thing again. So I guess you got to do it for rotate and for this. I guess English or an alternate language. brightness. Apparently you can change the brightness by tapping. Sound, you can turn it off, I guess. Can give you pop-up alerts. You can control your menus here. And then Marlin mode, I guess you can jump right into it from here. Or not. It might be settings for it, but that's the entire knowledge set that I know about this. Obviously, there's more in the setup file for this particular TFT display, but let's take a look at what we've got in here. So I know there's a setting that you need to find for the actual, let's see, I think it's LCD and SD support. And if you scroll through here, there might be some settings that you need to set for bed leveling in here, or at least enabling things. Obviously, sound is already set up. You may have to enable the SD card. This is a retry in case you can't read a file, but there is a bug in Marlin that will give you issues with reading from a file on your SD, or excuse me, the SD drive on your TFT or Marlin displays, where it's reading first the file that's on your controller board. So you have to pop out that drive in order for it to read the other one. Hopefully they're going to fix that soon, because I get a lot of questions about it. You can change your LCD menus, obviously. I think that's the speed at which it steps through. This changes the direction if it's going the wrong way. A lot of these, I'm not sure if they're going to work on the TFT in emulation mode. You can also turn on and off your speaker, but it's already on in one case. It might not be on in Marlin mode. There is a setting that I was looking for, but apparently I'm not able to find it right away. But that's for bed leveling. It's someplace in here, or it's in the advanced config. Let me check on the chat, because I've been chatting away like crazy. Okay. The Z height, I'm not going to be able to answer that totally at the moment. So hopefully soon, but you never know. It might take me a while to actually answer some questions, because with bed leveling, it can be a little bit of a chore, because there's so many different variables between the TFT display, the emulated display, and also the actual bed leveling with the BL Touch or with the 3D Touch. So if I comment on it before I've actually researched it all, I might confuse people, but I'm pretty close to having all the details. Let's see. Someone's asking if someone speaks Turkish. Unfortunately, I can only speak English during tutorials. That way people can understand what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm not Turkish. I might look Turkish though, but I'm not Turkish. But obviously, I'm from the Middle East based on my name. Anywho, let's see. What other questions you guys have that I might not have answered? I'm going to read back through some of these. By the way, do you have any change with the STL for a nice workbench setup? I'm still testing it. It's a little unstable. What he's talking about is I actually built a camera stand Right now, it doesn't move very well up and down, but it holds the lights nice. And basically, all it is corner mounts that I put on it, and then I bought the extruded aluminum. The corner mounts exist in one of my Thingiverse models, or multiple ones, if you want to build your own. But at the moment, I'm not sure I want to let people see how to do it yet, because I'm not sure it's the most stable thing. But I also built a mount so that you can put the actual microphone on it, so it's easier for me to talk. It's essentially a way for me to do tutorials without moving too much around. The downside is I'm trying to automate it so I can move it up and down. So I will eventually connect a controller board to it so that I can move the actual camera without having to mess around with loosening bolts. But that's a future plan. But eventually that will be done. It'll be similar to one of my other designs that you've seen for a printer, and some of the parts are in there. So, does anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns? The website hopefully will be up soon. I have to do a lot of work on it though, so I'm going to probably cut it short for tonight. Those that are leaving super chats and PayPal and Patreon, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It helps me get equipment so I can talk about what you're working with. And everyone, take care, be safe. Remember to get your shots for the COVID vaccine. Take care, and I'll catch up with you on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care, everyone.